Welcome to Reading English Aloud. This is an urban legend called The Last Bus. Urban legend. An urban legend is a frightening story in which the storyteller insists is true but has no evidence to back it up. Also, it never happened to the storyteller, but someone removed from them. So it's a story that gets passed around and people think it's true, but it may or may not have happened. So I'm going to read a story for you. It's a story called The Last Bus. It's an urban legend from Beijing, China. And I'm going to read it in my natural speaking voice. So while I'm reading it, I'd like you to answer the following questions. Question number 1, where does this story take place? Question number 2, what was odd about the 3 passengers? Number 3, why did the old lady want to get the young man off the bus? Number 4, what happened to the bus driver and the female worker on the bus? And question number 5, who solved the mystery of the last bus? The Last Bus. This story happened on November 14th, 1995 in Beijing, China. At midnight on a very cold and windy night, bus number 375 pulled out of a bus station. This was the last bus of the night. On board were the driver and a female worker. It stopped and 2 passengers got on, an old lady and a young man. As the bus drove through the night, it was quiet and there were no other vehicles on the road. After a while, the driver stopped and let 3 more people on. 2 men were supporting a 3rd man between them, holding him up by his shoulders. The man in the middle looked disheveled and his head was down, so nobody could see his face. The men were dressed in long robes and old-fashioned clothing. The other passengers on the bus were scared and glanced nervously at each other as the driver pulled off and continued down the road. The female worker tried to calm everyone down by saying, "Don't be afraid." The old woman kept turning around and staring at the 3 strangers who were seated at the back of the bus. The bus driver and the female worker were chatting and laughing. The old lady suddenly jumped to her feet and hit the young man sitting in front of her. She was shouting and making a big fuss, telling everyone that he had stolen her purse. The young man stood up and started arguing with her, but the old woman grabbed him by the collar and demanded that the driver let them off at the next stop so that she could bring him to the police station. The young man was speechless. When the bus stopped, the old lady pulled the young man out. They watched as the bus drove off into the night, and the old lady breathed a sigh of relief. "Where's the police station?" asked the young man. "There is no police station," the old lady replied. "I just saved your life." "What? How did you save my life?" the young man said, puzzled. "Those 3 people were ghosts," the old lady replied. "Ever since they got on the bus, I had my doubts about them, so I kept looking back at them. A wind blowing through the window lifted their long robes, and I saw they had no legs." The young man stared at the old lady in surprise. She called the police and told them what she had seen. The next day, bus number 375 failed to report to the station. It had vanished along with the driver and the female worker. The police searched the entire city but could find no trace of it. 2 days later, the police found the missing bus. It was in a water reservoir about 100 kilometers away. Inside the bus, they discovered 3 badly decomposed bodies: the bus driver, the female worker, and an unidentified man. To this day, it remains an unsolved mystery. Let's answer the following questions. Where does the story take place? The story takes place in Beijing, China. What was odd about the 3 passengers? One of the 3 passengers was being held up by his shoulders by the other 2 passengers. His head was hanging down and his clothing was messy. Why did the old lady want to get the young man off the bus? The old lady felt that something terrible might happen to her and the other young man, so she pretended that he had tried to steal her bag. What happened to the bus driver and the female worker on the bus? The bodies of the bus driver and female worker were found on the bus, so they must have died. Who solved the mystery of the last bus? The mystery of the last bus remains unsolved. So that is an urban legend from China. Thank you for reading English aloud with me, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel.